Jiang Huayan and I were about to perform the final bow to seal our marriage at the government office, only one step away from getting the official marriage certificate, when a young servant summoned him away. He left me stranded at the office gate, in an awkward dilemma. The auspicious hour passed, the feast turned cold, yet he never returned. Impatient guests had already started whispering among themselves. Instead of him, a message came via the servant. Quiz Hian, be good. 1111 twisted her ankle. I have to take care of her today. Stop sending maids to disturb her rest. We can pick another lucky day for our engagement. As the future Marchioness, you need to be sensible. I bit my lower lip gently and murmured, haven't I been sensible enough? Counting today, we've rescheduled this 7 times already. My face remained expressionless, but my heart felt as if it were being stabbed by a knife. The matchmaker asked sympathetically, Miss, shall we still go through with this? I nodded slightly. We shall. Through the veil, I whispered to my maid Zai, go deliver a message to Prince Chen, Xiaozhen, tell him I agree. Then I turned back to the matchmaker and said, please grant me an extra stick of incense's time. I'll reward you handsomely when this is done. The matchmaker held my hand as I tried to lift the veil, smiling warmly. Miss, what are you saying? Just give your orders. With that, she swayed her lotus-like gait to smooth things over with the guests. I was still lost in thought when the gatekeeper shouted loudly, Prince Chen has arrived. I knew it was done. Peering through the veil, I could vaguely see him riding a blood-sweated steed adorned with red silk balls. The moment he strode in wearing a red wedding robe, he immediately caught all the guests' attention. The matchmaker hurried forward, calling out, here comes the bridegroom, here comes the bridegroom. Make way, everyone. Xiaozhen walked straight up to me, sat on the chair beside me, crossed his legs, and said with a playful grin, Yang Yang, you've finally come around. You agree to marry me now. I nodded gently. At my consent, he picked me up in his arms and rushed straight into the courtyard. I let out a startled cry. Slow down, Xiaozhen replied as he strode quickly. Don't want to miss the lucky hour. At the servant's loud shout, strike up the music. The blare of horns and trumpets filled the air like thunder. Actually, this marriage wasn't just about an alliance between 2 great families. The most important reason was to ease my grandmother's mind before she passed away. Half a year ago, my grandmother's health had started to decline sharply, with fewer and fewer days of lucidity. Every time I attended to her in the courtyard, she would always mutter, when will my Yang Yang get married? I wonder if this old woman will live to see my precious girl walk down the aisle. I knew she longed to see me in a wedding dress, to see me settle down. That way, even if she were gone, there would still be someone to cherish me. That was why I had swallowed my pride and pestered my fiancé Jiang Huayan to marry me half a year ago. The engagement procession had come and gone 7 times, yet each time it ended in failure for one ridiculous reason or another. Last time, she had her monthly cramps and was in unbearable pain, so he had to go boil brown sugar water for her. The time before that, she had gotten lost in the mountains and couldn't be found, so a servant sent word begging for his help. The time before that, she was hungry and craved the sweet Osmanthus wine from the north of the city, so he had to rush to line up for it. All 7 times, it was because of she. All 7 times, Jiang Huayan had abandoned me without a second thought. The irony was that I had given him 7 chances. Yet he couldn't even spare me the time for the final bow at our engagement ceremony. Truth be told, I wasn't too heartbroken when Jiang Huayan left this time. Perhaps I had grown accustomed to it, or perhaps I had seen it coming all along, but just now, my mind suddenly drifted to the words my grandmother had said to me a while back. Yang Yang, I'm afraid this old woman doesn't have much time left. I might not live to see you marry, but even if you end up alone in the future, you must live bravely. Don't let others bully you, my child. You must become a woman of strength and grace. Don't let the intrigues of this mansion tarnish your original heart. Just like your name means, as clear and bright as jade, as radiant as a blooming flower. I had promised my grandmother I would be brave, so this time, I would not compromise anymore. Jiang Huayan, I gave you your chances, 7 of them. The wedding ceremony with Xiaozhen went smoothly through all the preceding rituals. Just as Xiaozhen and I were about to perform the final bow, A servant arrived with a letter from Jiang Huayan. Having asked around to find us, Xiaozhen took the letter and read it aloud. Jian, don't be angry, I really couldn't get away this time, but I've told the maids to prepare your favorite lotus seed soup. Remember to eat it. Xiaozhen glanced over at me, asked lazily, shall we continue? I took a deep breath, my face impassive. Continue. The ceremony was completed. In the bridal chamber, I said to Xiaozhen, in 3 days, will you come with me? Xiaozhen stepped over the threshold with his long legs, smiling. Since my lady so kindly invites me, this husband will reluctantly agree. With that, he turned and walked toward the front hall. Faint laughter drifted back to me. I couldn't help but sigh at the unpredictability of fate. I had known Jiang Huayan for 4 years, been engaged for 2, yet in the end, we couldn't make it work. But I had married Prince Chen, Xiaozhen, whom I had met only once. The next day, I remembered that the dowry my family had prepared for me was still at the Marquis's mansion, so I took Zai, Jiyu, and a few servants to fetch it, sending a letter to inform Xiaozhen beforehand. When I opened the door to the room I had been staying in at the Marquis's mansion, the first thing I saw was the mess on the table. The dishes had been eaten clean. From behind me came Jian Shi's voice, feigning innocence. I'm so sorry, sister. I was just so hungry that I couldn't help eating first. Even if I had been slow on the uptake, I would have sensed she was deliberately provoking me. In that moment, my blood boiled with rage, my hands clenched into fists, my sharp nails digging deep into my palms. Jian Shi and Jiang Huayan had been childhood sweethearts. That was why, in his eyes, she always came first. Actually, in the beginning, everything had gone smoothly between Jiang Huayan and me. From meeting to getting engaged, we rarely quarreled, and even when we did, Jiang Huayan was always the first to apologize and comfort me. No matter whose fault it was, he would always take all the blame immediately. Even my closest girlfriends had envied me more than once for finding such a doting man like Jiang Huayan. But that envy had come to an abrupt end half a year ago. Ever since Jian Shi had appeared, his doting had completely shifted to someone else. Jian, why are you only coming back now? Don't you know how bad it is for a young lady's reputation to stay out all night? Jiang Huayan walked in from outside, frowning the moment he saw me. In his mind, I should have put him first in everything. Never setting foot outside the mansion, I had no intention of telling him that I had married someone else. Now that I had decided to leave, from this moment on, Jiang Huayan was nothing more than a stranger to me. I had come back this time mainly to retrieve my dowry. I was afraid of being overcome by grief yesterday, so I stayed at an inn. I want to go back to see grandmother these days, so I'm here to pack my things. With that, I strode straight toward the bedroom without waiting for Jiang Huayan's reaction. But the moment I lifted the bedroom curtain, I was stunned by the sight before me. The once neat bed was now in disarray, and the wardrobe had been rummaged through thoroughly. I could have ignored all that, but the ancestral carved jade ruyi that grandmother had given me was lying on the floor, snapped clean in two. I could no longer contain myself. I called out Jiang Huayan's name sharply. Who has been in this bedroom? Who broke my things? Jiang Huayan walked in, his brows furrowed at first, then quickly smoothed out. He spoke in a nonchalant tone, it's just a jade ruyi. I'll find a master craftsman to repair it for you later. I froze for a moment. That indifferent tone was exactly like saying I meant nothing to him, and because of that sentence, I knew it must have been Jian Shi who broke it. Only she deserved such reckless protection from him. It was Jian Shi who broke it, wasn't it? My calm words were like a match igniting Jiang Huayan's anger. He immediately scowled and snapped at me. What proof do you have that it was 11:11? Maybe it just fell off the stand on its own. Quizhian, don't go spouting baseless accusations. If you want to blame 11:11, at least produce some evidence. Otherwise, keep your mouth shut, or I'll have the guards drag you out of this mansion and beat you with sticks. I bit down so hard on the inside of my cheek that I could taste blood, the coppery flavor filling my mouth. He really would go to such lengths to protect her, for just one sentence from me. He was ready to throw me out of the mansion, but the Jiang Huayan from half a year ago had never been like this. The day I had truly fallen in love with him was a rainy day. Zai, Jiyu, and I had gone to the plum garden at Yongyuan Temple to admire the flowers when a sudden downpour triggered a landslide. He had raced to the disaster site on horseback without even an umbrella. On that day, that always proper and principled man had cast aside all decorum for me, rushing to my rescue without a second thought. But I didn't argue with him further. Just as Jiang Huayan had said, I had no proof that Jianxi had broken it. I could only squat down carefully to gather the broken pieces of jade, tucking the two snapped halves of the rui's handle into my sleeve. At that moment, Jianxi's soft, pitiful voice came from outside the door. She limped into the room. Brother Huayan, please don't quarrel with sister, even though it wasn't me who broke it. Sister can blame me if she wants to. No one has ever liked me since I was a child. It's only natural that sister doesn't like me either. As she spoke, she deliberately took a few steps forward and squatted down in front of me. One foot stepped directly on one of the jade shards, twisting hard. At the same time, she hissed at me in a voice so low only I could hear, I did break it. So what? Rage surged through me instantly. I wanted to push Jianxi away hard, but before I could even touch her, she stumbled and fell to the ground gracefully, her white bandaged foot hitting the nightstand with pinpoint accuracy. The next second, Jianxi's tearful sobs filled the room. Sister, I was only trying to help you. I hadn't even had time to react when Jiang Huayan grabbed my arm violently. It was a look I had never seen before, his face contorted in ferocity, his eyes sharp as blades, as if he wanted to kill me. No matter how much you dislike 1111. There's no need to hurt her like this, especially when she's still injured. My arm was clamped tightly in his grip. I couldn't break free, so I could only watch them. A bitter taste spread from the tip of my tongue, and my heart felt shattered into 1,000 pieces. I didn't even touch her. Jiang Huayan's slap landed directly on my face. A bright red handprint instantly bloomed on my cheek. You're still lying, Quizhian. Do you think I'm blind? I was right behind you. I saw it with my own eyes. First you falsely accuse 1111, and now you push her down. How come I never knew you were such a ruthless woman? You're simply vicious. My breath hitched, and I couldn't utter a single word of rebuttal. In this situation, no matter what I said, Jiang Huayan wouldn't believe a word of it. He let go of me and glared down at me coldly. Got nothing to say for yourself? Ha, Quizhian, you're truly a venomous woman. Jiang Huayan looked at me with disappointment, but I felt an inexplicable sense of relief. If there had been a sliver of hope for him in my heart before, it was now completely gone. My heart would never stir for him again. I stopped defending myself, stopped struggling to explain. Jianxi, being held in Jiang Huayan's arms, shot me a triumphant glance and mouthed something. I understood it clearly. You think you're worthy of competing with me for Brother Huayan. If you like him so much, then I'll let you have him. Because Jianxi's twisted ankle had just been hit again, Jiang Huayan carried her anxiously to find a doctor. I stumbled to my feet. The bronze mirror in front of me reflected my burning red cheek, the handprint still clearly visible. One could only imagine how angry Jiang Huayan had been, how hard he had struck. I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh, reaching up to wipe the blood slowly oozing from the corner of my mouth. That slap had shattered all my past illusions. Taking the opportunity, I gathered all the clothes here, packed them into suitcases, along with my dowry. I took everything I could carry. What I couldn't, I smashed to pieces. Before leaving, I set fire to this courtyard. This courtyard was originally a remote part of the Marquis's mansion. I had stayed here temporarily because I preferred quiet. Since it was far from my hometown, it had served as my bridal chamber before marriage. Everything inside had been gradually furnished by me over the past 2 years. Once intended to be my private residence, now, there was no need to keep it. Dirty things disgusted me. For the days ahead, I planned to return to Qinghe to accompany my grandmother in her final moments. That evening, Xiaozhen and I prepared a story in advance to deal with my family. Everyone already knew Jiang Huayan was my fiancé, and to avoid worrying my grandmother, I asked Xiaozhen to help me cover it up, not revealing his true identity. But I never expected him to get along so well with everyone. He talked freely, from human relationships to scenery, and even the current political situation. By the time we left, everyone was reluctant to let him go. Grandmother took my hand and patted the back of it gently. My dear granddaughter, he's a good one, a really good one, much more reliable than that Marquis Jiang. I felt a little awkward, not wanting grandmother to know I had married someone casually, so I forced a smile and said, Grandmother, are you mixing things up? He is Jiang Huayan. This old woman isn't senile yet. I can tell if it's the same person. It's just, I wonder if I'll live to see your wedding day. I squeezed grandmother's hand tightly. Don't worry, grandmother, Xiaozhen and I are already married. Only then did grandmother nod contentedly. I knew it. It's not that Jiang boy, it's Prince Chen. Xiaozhen, isn't it? I glared at grandmother playfully, then left the room, closing the door softly behind me. Later, Zai, Jiyu, and I went to the restaurant where we had agreed to meet Xiaozhen. From a distance, I saw Xiaozhen and his entourage, and it looked like they were having an argument with someone. When I approached, I realized the people arguing with him were Jiang Huayan and Jianxi. I didn't know what the cause was, but one sentence from Jiang Huayan made my throat tighten, and I couldn't breathe for a long time. I don't know what my wife did wrong, but I apologize on her behalf. But as a man, how can you bully a woman? Have you no shame? So, in his heart, Jianxi was already his marchioness. Then what was I? If you do something wrong, you have to admit it. If everyone acted like you, what would be the point of laws? Does being a woman mean you can get away with anything? Jiang Huayan and Jianxi were left tongue-tied by Xiaozhen's retort. Just as I appeared, Jiang Huayan spotted me. A flash of panic and unease crossed his eyes, but he quickly suppressed it, rushed up to grab me as if nothing was wrong, and spoke first. Jian, you're just in time. 1111 accidentally spilled tea on him just now, but his claiming this robe is made of brocade woven with gold thread by Mistress Yu in the capital, priceless. Do you think he's trying to extort us? Jianxi nodded matter-of-factly, showing no sign of remorse. That's right, Brother Huayan. Send someone to fetch the county magistrate here and arrest him. Don't let him out to extort people again for at least half a year. Xiaozhen looked at me with a smile, and I couldn't help but blush. Your friend, I shook my head immediately, no longer. Before Jiang Huayan could react, I continued, Jiang Huayan, this is Xiaozhen. With that, I pulled Xiaozhen away quickly, unwilling to have any more interaction with Jiang Huayan. As for how they settled the matter, it had nothing to do with me. In the days that followed, Xiaozhen was busy arranging our wedding banquet. I had wanted to keep it simple, just enough to fulfill grandmother's wish. But Xiaozhen said it wouldn't do for his status and insisted on a grand celebration. I knew the demands of nobles like him in the capital were numerous. Since I couldn't persuade him, I had to compromise. Meanwhile, Jiang Huayan sent someone every day to ask when I would return to the capital. Perhaps he had noticed that I had met him less frequently these days, even avoiding him intentionally at times. For the first time, he personally told me he had chosen an auspicious date and was going back to prepare for our wedding banquet. Unfortunately, I no longer needed it. Every subsequent message was refused by the gatekeeper on the excuse that I was taking care of grandmother. The wedding day arrived in the blink of an eye. I appeared in my wedding dress. A familiar voice came from beside me, filled with surprise and a hint of panic. Jian, I thought you were taking care of your grandmother. Why are you here in a wedding dress at the prince's wedding? Xiaozhen strode up to me. Isn't that the man from the restaurant the other day? Want to go down and talk to him? I glanced at him faintly. I knew with his methods, he must have already known about the relationship between Jiang Huayan and me. If you wanted to watch a show today, your wish is about to come true. Jiang Huayan rushed up to me, stretching out his hand to point at me unwillingly. His voice roaring with anger. Quizhian, I know it's you. You don't have to pretend not to know me. What are you doing? You already agreed to marry me, so why pretend not to know me and marry someone else? Did you ever truly see me as your future husband? I looked at him calmly. Once upon a time, I would have torn off this wedding dress and thrown myself into his arms, but now, I was terrifyingly calm. Jiang Huayan, how dare you say such a thing? I gave you 7 chances. If you had seized even one, would I be marrying someone else today? If you didn't want to marry me, if every time we were supposed to get married, you ran off to be with your childhood sweetheart, then I'll do you a favor. Now you can stay by her side day and night. Also, I'm not pretending not to know you. I simply don't want to know you anymore. Just the sight of Jiang Huayan reminded me of those absurd 7 years. I had accompanied him for 7 years, yet in the end, he couldn't even spare me a moment of his time. Jiang Huayan opened his mouth to say something more, but the guard summoned by Xiaozhen dragged him away directly. He shouted my name, rambling nonsense about being willing to marry me now. Xiaozhen clicked his tongue. I didn't expect you to be so fierce, little girl. Those few sharp words of yours left this scholarly marquis tongue-tied. I shot him a cold glance. I hated it when people mentioned Jiang Huayan and me in the same breath now. With the troublemaker gone, Xiaozhen and I continued with the wedding ceremony. Although grandmother was unwell, she insisted on attending my wedding. My Yang Yang has grown up, getting married, how wonderful. Grandmother's condition was deteriorating rapidly. She had to return to her room to rest before the wedding was fully over. I knew the only thing keeping her alive was the desire to witness my wedding. Now that her final wish was fulfilled, her breath grew weaker and weaker. As soon as the last rituals were completed, I ran as fast as I could, but just as I exited the front courtyard, Jiang Huayan stopped me. His eyes were red as he grabbed my wrist. Jian, you can't marry him, he doesn't look like a good man at all. Only I love you, after all these years together, can't you feel it? Let go of me. I have something urgent now, we'll talk about our business later. No matter how hard I tried to break free, Jiang Huayan would always reach out with his other hand to pull me back, repeating the same words, begging for my forgiveness. Fortunately, Xiaozhen appeared in time to hold Jiang Huayan back, but I was still too late. Grandmother had already closed her eyes, her breath gone. The imperial physician shook his head at me again. Princess, you're too late, old Madame Kui has passed away. But she was very happy before she left. Rarely do we doctors see someone pass away with a smile, so I didn't get to see grandmother one last time. I stared blankly. Touching grandmother's already cold hand, Xiaozhen held me tightly, comforting me softly. Yang Yang, don't be sad, you fulfilled grandmother's final wish. And the imperial physician said she was happy before she left. I wiped the tears constantly welling up in my eyes, reaching out to gently touch grandmother's face through the white cloth. Yes, grandmother must have been very happy. At grandmother's funeral, it was drizzling that day. Jiyu held an umbrella for me as we stood by. Zai and the others were arranging for grandmother's body to be buried. Yang Yang, don't be sad anymore. I'm sure grandmother wouldn't want to see you like this. Grandmother got to witness your wedding before she left. She must have been very happy. I nodded. Grandmother must have been happy. She left without any regrets. Even the husband I'd found on short notice had won her approval. Thinking this, I looked up at Xiaozhen, who was standing in the light rain and sprinkling the last handful of soil over the grave. It was impossible not to feel moved. I owed him a great deal for staying by my side during this final stretch. Brother Xiao, thank you for helping me fulfill grandmother's last wish. We can go get a divorce tomorrow. Xiaozhen shook off a few drops of rain from his head and said casually, what's the hurry? Your business is done, but mine isn't. Let's leave it as is for now. I'll have a maid summon you when everything's arranged. He turned and left as soon as he finished speaking. I glanced at Zai and Jiyu in surprise. Something felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on it right away. Still, Xiaozhen had helped me, and I couldn't turn my back on him now. As we walked down the mountain, Jiang Huayan was waiting for me at the foot. His hair was disheveled, clearly unkempt for some time. Jian, where is grandmother buried? I should pay my respects too. Though I was reluctant to speak to him, out of respect for grandmother, I politely refused. Thank you, Marquis Jiang, but there's no need. Given your relationship with grandmother, such a visit isn't appropriate. But Jiang Huayan burst into tears, his red eyes bloodshot. He apologized to me, saying he'd had no idea about grandmother's condition that day. He'd only been too deeply in love with me, desperate to win me back, which was why he'd stopped me in the front courtyard. Jian, forgive me, this time, we will definitely get married. Grandmother's spirit in heaven will surely bless us. You saw how I accompanied you to visit grandmother several times before. She liked me too, didn't she? Now that grandmother is gone, I will protect you. I had no idea when he'd grown such a thick skin. Once, Jiang Huayan had been proud, if not overly so. with a strong sense of dignity. Now, he only made me feel disgusted. I was about to speak when Xiaozhen suddenly pulled me into his arms. No need for you to trouble yourself with protecting my wife. Besides, grandmother didn't like you, she liked me. He looked just like a jealous man eager to assert his dominance. Jiang Huaiyan's face twisted with anger. His eyes were fixed on the hand Xiaozhen had wrapped around me. Jian, men like him are just playboys, don't be fooled by him. As he spoke, he put on an expression of extreme devotion. I'm different. We've been together for 7 years, through thick and thin. You've long been irreplaceable in my heart. No matter what you become, I will always love you the most. His words only intensified my nausea. The memory of him slapping me without hesitation flashed before my eyes, and the corner of my mouth still throbbed faintly. I sneered at him. Loving me means hurting me without hesitation. Loving me means slapping me hard across the face. Jiang Huaiyan, your love is too terrifying. I don't dare want it. This sarcasm made Jiang Huaiyan's face fall. The things he'd done began to dawn on him. He took 2 steps back unconsciously, stumbling and nearly falling to the ground. I couldn't help but find it absurd. Had he developed selective amnesia? Did he need me to remind him of his own actions? Otherwise, how could he dare to say such shameless things? You are nothing more than a stranger to me now. I hope you have some self-awareness and move out soon, lest I report you to the authorities. With that, I ignored Jiang Huaiyan and left with Xiaozhen. Jiang Huaiyan roared unwillingly behind us. Jian, we will get married. You can't drive me away. All the way back, the man beside me had a terrible expression. I had no idea what he was angry about. Exhausted from the past few days, I fell asleep leaning against the carriage wall. When I woke up, I was already in my bedroom. My luggage and dowry had all been neatly moved here, arranged in the courtyard. Looking at the extra trunks of jewelry and silk, I knew no one but Xiaozhen could have sent them. I was about to go out to find Xiaozhen and clarify things when Zai ran over to block my way. Zai, what are you doing? Nothing, miss. I watched the weather and think it might rain soon. Why not rest in the room a little longer? I looked at her suspiciously but didn't think much of it. Only in the days that followed did I notice more strange things. Every time I went out, people would point at me and whisper among themselves. It wasn't until I visited Linglong Pavilion one day that the manager subtly reminded me of what was going on. When I got back, I asked Jiu and finally learned the whole story. Someone was spreading malicious rumors about me everywhere. I didn't need to guess who it was. It must have been Jiang Huaiyan and his group. I could roughly guess the reason, unwilling to accept being abandoned by me. Jiang Huaiyan had chosen to stir up trouble in the capital, portraying himself as the victim. The rumors roughly said that I'd climbed the social ladder by courting a nobleman. Having known and loved Jiang Huaiyan for over 7 years, I'd been tempted by the power and influence of a wealthy and powerful family. Not only had I called off my engagement with him, but I'd also married into the imperial family. To make matters worse, I'd set fire to the small courtyard he'd let me stay in, and now, relying on my husband's power, I was bullying others, even getting my husband to impeach him in the court, demanding he be exiled to the barbaric lands. Soon, a crowd gathered on the street. On my way back to the mansion, many people recognized me and began to discuss. I think that's the woman. She threw away a fiancé she'd been with for 7 years just like that. She's so ruthless. Marrying a royal relative is certainly better. Love only satisfies the spirit. It can't change your living conditions. I'd choose the royal relative too. Greedy for power and wealth, she's the epitome of a cheap woman. Women like her corrupt the moral standards of the capital. She deserves to be drowned in a pig cage. Suddenly, a black cashmere cloak was draped over my shoulders. Xiaozhen's cold face was even more frosty, exuding a menacing aura. He unceremoniously shouted at the gossiping crowd, "What's it to you? Marriage is arranged by parents and matchmakers, none of your business. If any of you say another word, I'm afraid you'll all end up in jail." The chattering crowd scattered immediately. Under Xiaozhen's protection, I returned to the mansion. Before we even entered the gate, I heard my close friend Zhao Mingyu sobbing and endlessly cursing. These scoundrels, all they do is gossip behind people's backs. What do they know, making such judgments? Don't they understand the principle of not judging others until you've walked a mile in their shoes? Jiyu, your mistress has suffered so much. She only stopped cursing when she saw me come back, pretending as if nothing had happened. I found it a little funny but also touching. Stop pretending. I already know everything. What? You know everything? Zhao Mingyu was stunned for a moment, then hugged me tightly and began to comfort me. It must be Jiang Huayan behind this. He's just jealous that you married my cousin, and now he wants to ruin you. In truth, I wasn't as fragile as she thought, but my heart felt warm regarding this matter. Although I knew Jiang Huayan was behind the rumors, I didn't know how to resolve it for a while. Even if I tried to explain, thousands of people would only start gossiping more. Before long, Jiang Huayan asked to meet me. Jian, you must regret it now, don't you? As long as you come back to me, I won't care about your past with Xiaozhen, nor will I mind your damaged reputation. As long as you stop opposing 1111 everywhere and let her stay in the Marquis's mansion, we can still live happily like before. I won't look down on you for being married before. As soon as you come back, I'll have someone announce to the public that you've had a change of heart and realized your mistake. Disgust gave me goosebumps all over my body. But what if I look down on you, Jiang Huayan? I gave you 7 chances to get married, and you didn't cherish a single one, since you like being with your childhood sweetheart. And I've always liked helping others fulfill their wishes. I'll do you a favor. Now, seeing you debase yourself like this only confirms that I made the right choice. The rumors grew more and more intense. If we couldn't resolve the rumors at their source, then I would create a new story for people to talk about over their meals. Soon, public opinion began to split into 2 camps, those who supported me and those who supported Jiang Huayan. But I never expected Xiaozhen to step in personally for me. Jiang Huayan had never mentioned Xiaozhen by name, fearing that involving him would lead to unexpected changes. Xiaozhen drew 10 scrolls and invited a national treasure painter whose works were worth 1,000 gold to copy them. He also hired a renowned folk writer to compile them into the first ever illustrated novel in history, The Untold Secrets of Prince Chen *. It told the story from when I first came to the capital with my grandfather at the age of 6, up to our wedding feast this year. He posted the 10 scrolls, painted and sealed by himself, on the imperial notice board. With the inscription, "After 10 years, I have finally fulfilled my wish of marrying the person closest to my heart." Then he made public the fact that I'd been let down by Jiang Huayan, who'd abandoned me halfway through our wedding 7 times, even finding guests who'd attended those 7 weddings to testify. Finally, he spent a fortune hiring storytellers to perform day and night in every major restaurant and tea house. Public opinion shifted instantly. What a rare scoundrel. Letting a weak woman suffer everything, she gave him 7 chances to get married, and he ran away every time. Oh my Guanyin Bodhisattva, not 7 times, even once would be enough for me to break up. I'd rather serve the Bodhisattva all my life than meet such a man. What a rare woman. Where can I find someone like her? I'd line up immediately. She's absolutely my ideal wife, so devoted. Yet what a pity the men she met were all scoundrels. Soon, an insider revealed what had happened at the restaurant in Qinghe that day. The story of Jiang Huayan embracing Jian Shi and openly declaring, "This is my wife," spread vividly among the people. On the night the matter was finally resolved, I invited Zhao Mingyu and Xiaozhen to dinner in my courtyard. When I asked where he had gotten the 10 portraits spanning 10 years, Xiaozhen hesitated noticeably. Before he could speak, it suddenly dawned on me, and I turned to Zhao Mingyu. "You must have given them to him, right?" I remember the first portrait was from the mid-autumn banquet shortly after we met. After that day, life gradually returned to peace. Because the scandal had caused such a stir, Jiang Huayan was impeached by the censors. The emperor demoted his entire family to commoners and ordered them to move out of the capital. Before they left, Xiaozhen and I went to see him one last time. As soon as he saw me, he put on a wronged expression and choked up. "Jian, are you really this cruel?" Jianxi was brought out soon after, followed by their luggage. It was somewhat absurd after all these years. The only things that truly belonged to Jiang Huayan were a few personal items. The rest, like his clothes, furniture, and accessories, had all been bought by me. At that moment, I finally realized what role I had been playing over the past 7 years. Xiaozhen tugged at my sleeve, saying disapprovingly, "Aren't I enough for you to look at? Your eyes have been blind long enough." Seeing his jealous look, I laughed. This was what it felt like to be cherished. "Thank you, doctor. I can see clearly now." "You're welcome, it's my honor, my lady." As we walked out of the Marquis's mansion, we encountered the dejected Jiang Huayan and Jian Shi at the gate again. Jian Shi was sobbing, pulling at him and asking where they would stay that night. Jiang Huayan roughly pushed her hand away. When he saw me, he immediately rushed over and grabbed the corner of my robe. "Jian, you can't treat me like this. After all these years together, how can we just end it like this?" I glared at him coldly. "Your childhood sweetheart is right here. You'd better stay away from me. If she causes any more trouble, you'll only blame me again." With that, I wrenched my robe out of his grip. Jiang Huayan refused to give up and was about to chase after me when a galloping horse brushed past him. He was so frightened that he fell backward onto the ground. Xiaozhen took my hand and asked, "Is it done? Then let's go." That night, I was taken to the princess's mansion for dinner. Xiaozhen said his parents wanted to meet me. To be honest, I was quite nervous. I'd heard that the royal family had countless etiquette rules. As if sensing my anxiety, he suddenly took my hand. His warm palm seemed to warm my heart. The dinner was far more relaxed than I had imagined. His mother seemed to take a great liking to me. Even my close friend Zhao Mingyu joked jealously that her aunt treated me better than she did. After dinner, Xiaozhen led me to his room. That was when I noticed the largest portrait in the room bore a striking resemblance to me. When I foolishly asked who the person in the portrait was, Xiaozhen pulled out a stack of painting albums. Opening them, it was like looking back on the past 10 years of my life. The last painting was the scene of our wedding banquet in Qinghe. "So all these are of me." Xiaozhen looked at me helplessly and nodded. Who else could they be? So, without my knowledge, he had been secretly in love with me for 10 years. Later, I learned from Zhao Mingyu that what had seemed like a hasty marriage to me had been his long-cherished wish. Planned meticulously for years, bright and beautiful, in her court robes, her dark hair like clouds, no need for hairpieces, jade earrings dangle, ivory hairpin adorns, her brows so clear, her skin so fair. How is she like a goddess, how like a deity, shining and pure, in her silk robes, draped in fine crepe, a light undergarment beneath, her eyes so bright, her face so radiant, such a person as she, a beauty of the realm, Zhen, Yang. May our love be destined for 3 lifetimes.